Wuta's official video. Wuta a 3 years official video of the song Here to Stay. It's a lovely song, and we hope that you enjoyed it. And this kind of boxes up nicely with our relationship issue for today. We're talking resolutions. The fact that is it bad really to have a resolution that says that I'll get married in 2017? It's not bad, is it? There are also some resolutions that I found on myjoyonline.com. We'll be running it by Mr. Amos Kevin Annan, who joins us for the first time in 2017. Happy New Year.
Happy Shabbat.
Happy Holiday.
Many blessed returns.
Amen. Amen. Well, yesterday, Roland said, but where's Mr. Kevin Annan? He hasn't been here. It's 2017.
Oh, I think the election took the lot of all of us.
Yeah, it's true.
Thankfully, it's over. It's just that the transition is still a bit disconcerting. But we hope that the active players will find amicable ways of responding to each other.
Yeah.
And they should show grace, both those who have won and those who have lost. They should all show grace and magnanimity. At the end of the day, it's nation building time.
Yeah. Can I just ask, is it wrong to have a resolution that says I want to be married in 2017?
It's dangerous to pronounce on the rightness or wrongness of such a proposition. The reason being that one needs to take time to understand the basis for which an individual arrives at such a conclusion.
Okay.
It may well be that they have prepared themselves for such an endeavor. And so when they have this as a resolution, it's not anything out of the norm. Now, where it is that they have not prepared themselves and it's a wish, then it becomes idealistic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where caution must be taken. Or where it is that the individual has not prepared themselves for such an endeavor and yet is desperate for it. And that becomes overbearing on them. So they're going to take desperate decisions and make choices that may predispose them to danger because they will not have sufficiently interrogated the process leading up to such a termination.
Could it also have some kind of emotional effect if you told yourself, I'll be married in 2016 and 2016 ended and it didn't happen, especially if you put it out there?
Definitely. I mean, assuming you post it on Facebook, that this is my year of marriage. And then the year gets to an end and the marriage doesn't see the light of day. What are people going to say about you? And you yourself are going to be distressed because you would have been disappointed. And disappointment, when they come into a person's life, emits all kinds of negative emotions. Think about the image. Think about how you're going to respond to people who have questions. And then this is a nation where cynicism and sarcasm is rife. So people are going to be coming after your tail. So it means that you ought to be careful, even when you have this as a decision. You've got to be careful how you communicate that and who you communicate to. If you're going to communicate to anybody at all, it must be people who have some contribution to make. Not in terms of finances, but they are there to support you so that you're able to achieve these noble objectives that you have set for yourself. And every objective that we set, unless it is to hurt somebody or to manipulate the system or to take advantage of others, I would consider them to be noble. The extent that I understand where you're coming from and what is your basis of making such a resolution. Because resolutions by themselves are not wrong. But it is the fact that the reality down there is many people will set it and by March they may have given up.
There's also another question of, is it good if you don't set resolutions at all? But I want us to listen to this report put together by one of my colleagues, Komla Adom. It's an audio. We would just listen to it and then I'll come to you for a reaction.
Now you the catch my shot. For your sake, I go church.
The party may be over, with the festivities officially ended, but not for some Ghanaians whose New Year's expectations have been a mixed bag, from the modest to the ambitious. But how about walking down the aisle, or rather, tying the knot by year's end for those who found a beautiful thing called love.
One's gonna find us. We'll leave the world behind us.
To get married this year, I really have been working towards for the past 1 year, and it's going to be really huge for me if I'm able to get married. My fiancé and I have been working towards it, and I just cannot wait to see it happen. It's really on top of my priorities.
I wish 2017 I'll get married and also be on my own, you know.
My top expectation for 2017 is to get married. I've been dating for 2 years and my fiance and I have been preparing to get married. This year is my year. I'm so ready for it and I'm so happy about it.
What happens if things don't turn out as rosy in the year?
If it doesn't happen, I'm afraid I would have to look elsewhere. Yeah, I'm 32 years and I'm not growing younger, so.
While it promises to be a good year for many, we can only hope love will equally fall in the right places in the year.
It's gonna come shining through tonight.
If it doesn't, well, bad news. But we can't stop hoping and believing, for love is indeed a beautiful thing.
It's to get close to you. Like you give me love, oh. Now you the catch my shot, oh. For your sake, I go touch you.
The party may be over.
It's 23 minutes after 7. It's our Relationship Friday. We're talking about resolutions. Some people have solid plans to get married in 2017, which is a good thing. But many things could go wrong. How do we prepare ourselves for that? And you heard that audio. It's interesting. I think, people have planned towards it.
Well, listening to it, I think it's heartwarming to realize that these are individuals who say that they have prepared themselves. Others have done that for a year, others for 2 years. And so the expectations are high. We should always remember that these are only promissory notes that have been given to us. And promissory notes by themselves don't deliver all the time. There are times that they don't come as they have been promised. And so we need to be cautious in our optimism.
We have to be cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, that's very, very important.
There's another angle that I wanted us to also touch on, which is what is on myjoyonline.com.
Okay.
We'll get it in a bit. Resolutions for marriage couples. And I don't know how this is important because I don't like to tie myself to resolutions. I like to feel free.
Honestly, I don't set resolutions. I set goals for the year. Now, somebody will say, well, goals are basically resolutions, things you resolve to do. Yes. My proposition is this. First, you should know your mission on earth. Identify the various roles that you play. And for each of the roles that you play, set clear goals for those roles. And schedule activities that reflect your mission, your roles, and the goals that you have set for yourself.
Okay.
And so you should have a process that you review your own goals that you have set. You could do that monthly or quarterly or bi-monthly. And you end up with a yearly review as well. So to that extent, many of the people who use the model that I use don't come up with a traditional resolution approach, which is done at 31st. I understand those who do the resolutions, and that is that a new year is coming.
Yeah.
And the birth of a new year promises many things, and opportunities are rife for you. So you look forward to casting a vision and take certain decisions based on things you are unable to achieve or attain. And so you resolve that. Moving forward in 2017, these are the things I'm going to do. The question would then be, would you have the commitment to same? And that's where the challenge comes. What if obstacle courses come your way? Are you able to find your way out and jump over them, scaling walls that come your way? If it is a maze that you're going to walk through, are you able to maneuver to the extent that you achieve your goals? So these are the naughty questions that we should ask ourselves if we set resolutions.
Let's just run through. It's 7.
Okay.
And first, can you just go up for me? Let's touch on the first one. It says plan a weekly or bi-weekly date night. Even if it's a home once in a while, commit to a weekly date night to reconnect and keep the romance alive in your relationship. Suggest psychology and relationship exercise. So this is what somebody is suggesting. Plan a weekly or bi-weekly date night. How important is that?
Oh, certainly. I mean, couples should make time for each other. And at the end of, I mean, for me, for instance, this year, one of my goals is to cultivate romance. So if I'm to do a weekly or bi-weekly review, I will ask myself, the whole of this week, have I hugged my wife? Have I extended any courtesy to my wife?
So is this, I get a different sense from what you're saying, which is good, but I was thinking more go to a restaurant or something like that.
Well, that's also part. I mean, take her on a date, that's fine. But somebody may have a different goal other than this, but will still achieve the same dating opportunity.
Okay.
For instance, you can date your spouse in the bedroom for a conversation when the children are knocked off to sleep.
Okay.
Because if you're a busy couple, it's a luxury just to lie in bed and talk to each other for an hour. And that's something, it's also a date.
Yeah.
A date is basically divine appointment to edify, D-A-T-E. So you get an appointment with your spouse to edify them, to enrich them, to add, to enhance. That's improve on the quality. So anything that will make you friendly towards your spouse, I'll consider it a date.
There's the experience of one person was, wants this. In fact, both could, but the other person may just fall asleep in the middle of it.
If they fall asleep, you should find creative ways of waking them up. Don't sedate them. maybe your smooth talk could sedate them.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's almost like an anesthesia.
I'm just thinking also that in order to keep the person
alive and
awake, you can just go for a walk.
Go for a walk. I mean,
walk.
take a walk within the vicinity where you are. It's also a form of a date. You see, we should endeavor not to create a monster out of a date where it is that people will always consider a restaurant. A walk at the beach. Sit at the poolside, put your foot in the water, and just enjoy it. Smooth talk, conversation. I mean, for a night, instead of the regular meal, you say, oh, there's a candlelight dinner between just the two of you, minus the children. Something that you could do to spice up. You see, the essential ingredient here is anything that you can do to spice it up.
Okay. All right. The next point is practice more positive talk.
Yeah.
So vow to say 5 positive things for every negative remark toward your spouse.
That means that you must be cognitively awake and aware. You see, if you want to practice positive talk, it means that you should be proactive and not reactive. So, for instance, Mama knows that I go to the house and then my husband may make a comment. And those comments usually when he makes gets me edgy. I train myself now to be ever present and alert so that when it comes, I have a prepared response.
Okay.
Not a reaction. Because to react means that it's acting on you, but to respond means that you have developed in you a mechanism to give appropriate answer.
Would you be living for real?
Well, life is always planned for. It's not accidental. And so everything we do is basically choreographed. There's nothing around us that we do which is not properly streamlined together to achieve a certain end. And why don't we take same to our marriage? You see, love prior to marriage is very spontaneous, but love in marriage is intentional. So the intentionality that drives love is what would inform a person giving themselves positive talk. There's a course that is run by Mediation International. It's called PULSE, P-U-L-S-E, People Using Language Skills Effectively. That's a program anybody can do. I mean, and it helps you to be careful with the words that you use.
Okay.
And generally, for general life, not just for your marriage. And because marriage is only a small part of your existence.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So practice more positive talk. play the appreciation game. Every evening at dinner, practice telling your partner one thing you appreciate about him, and and have him do the same for you. It can be something specific, like how he helped you solve a dilemma that day, or more general, like the fact that he works his booty off to support you and the family.
Appreciation is generally something we should all learn to do.
But do we even recognize, do we even get it when somebody is especially when you keep doing it?
Well, it's a painful thing to do something for someone and they don't appreciate what you have done. It's difficult. Come to think of it, in a very close relationship like marriage, you clean the car, your spouse doesn't see it. You set the table for your spouse, he doesn't see it.
It's normal.
Yeah, that automation of activities. And so there's a need for each one of us to be minded about the fact that appreciation is necessary for, providing a lubricant for the wheels of marriage to run. Okay? And so to do it every evening for many people will be very difficult. But I would generally say that endeavor to show appreciation for little things that are done for you. Courtesies extended to you. Appreciate it. Last time I was just reviewing what things would I miss saying to my wife if I lost her the night before. And it made me sit up.
What things would I miss
not being able to say to my wife if she's late?
Wow.
Sometimes death, many of us fear thinking about death because we want to have life so much that we don't want to think of death. But the reality is, if your spouse died today, what words would you have missed not telling him or her?
Lots.
A lot. So what is preventing us from saying it now? Sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's some disappointment, sometimes it's some issue unresolved. Those things, they become destructive. And they eat away the health of the relationship. And so we have a lot to thank God for. We have a lot to praise our spouses for. Sometimes we get into this nitpicking and little things become the big things for us. And let's be careful, because little foxes destroy much of the crop.
The fourth point is actively seduce each other.
Yeah, you're talking about bedroom protocols. One of my favorite subjects.
Actively.
Yeah, seducing each other is very important. It's said that intimacy, romance, sex, they tend to spice the union. Unfortunately, for many marriages now, it's dying. I went to a meeting and somebody just accosted me, and I knew the husband. She went like, "You've got to talk to your brother. For 3 months now, he hasn't even hugged me, not even talk about the bedroom." Why would we get to that situation? Now, unfortunately, some women also, the way they clad themselves at home is not alluring enough. I'm sure my friend Jibody is watching allure. She runs the allure. So allure, there must be some allure. Spouses should be able to bait.
Something must draw you.
Yeah, you must bait each other. Something should around you should pull me to you.
Haven't you also had people complain that, I do all the things, I try to seduce, I try to be attractive, and he still isn't seeing it?
Well, those people need some help. Because ordinarily, when people do what is seductive, there ought to be a response.
A woman could change her hairstyle, thinking
well,
that...
those ones...
man may not recognize anything.
Well, those ones have to do with the lighter version of appeal. But I'm talking about the real seduction. To seduce means that you make the person get to a point where they are unable to hold back. They have no choice but to respond.
Okay.
So
and I think this is also restricting us to the bedroom.
Exactly. That's why I'm talking about bedroom protocols. And it's bigger than just sex. It's got to do with the chemistry between the spouses, body language. I'm just reading a book titled How to Read People Like a Book. It's a beautiful book on body language, the science behind body language. Now, spouses should be able to get the cues and the signals that they send to each other.
Okay.
The slight tickle, that smile, that very, very inviting posture. I call something strategic positioning. The wives in particular.
I'm ready.
The wives in particular have a greater role because the man is essentially a creature of the eyes.
Okay.
The men, their seduction comes more with kind words, appreciation, affirmation, those encouraging words, those tender touches. We are losing those things. And some people, too, when they touch, it's almost like they are gripping. And it's hurting. Okay? So there's a need for spouses to actively, and I like that instructive word, actively seducing each other.
How important is it to hug or kiss every day?
Oh, well.
Because, you know, kissing is not like our thing.
I won't put those heavy burdens on people who haven't developed that natural culture or tendency to be huggy and kissing. Some spouses don't like kisses at all. I've handled a few. But as for hug, who doesn't like a hug? Especially if it's just going to be a hug. Others want a hug and it transits into other things when you are not ready for those. That can be frustrating. That can be very frustrating. So there's a need for us as spouses to be generous and liberal around these things. The question will be, can you do same publicly? That's where a lot of people become a bit, discomfortable because they are not used to that. But in the Western world, that's a very natural environment.
Yeah.
The environment itself is very conducive for hugs, touches, and all those things. Thankfully, you see the younger generation having a different expression of same. If you look at the younger generation, you notice that they do a lot more hugs, a lot more touches. The other thing we should understand is that there are some people who also have touch as their natural love language. And those individuals, if they're your spouses, if you don't touch them, they don't feel loved.
Yeah.
You may have provided everything they needed, but once there's no touch, once there's no hug, there's no flesh. The flesh must rub on each other. They don't have that. They won't feel loved. And it's not because they're looking for sex. It's basically because they want that assurance. And for them, the sense of assurance is received when our body rubs over each other. When you can just put your head around my neck and just play around my neck. Region. Yeah.
But
early morning, yes.
I know that sometimes women also don't want to go to that extent because some men can't just get it, that this is just it. It shouldn't go further than this. I mean, let's just stay in this moment.
One guy said, what do you do have kumi preko? If you brought me thus far, I better.
This is where we want to be. This is where we want to be. We don't want to go far. This is it.
I think that those men need to be helped, trained by their spouses. I mean, you need to communicate clearly. For instance, you are on your way to the office. You're dressed nicely. You take a hike. I'm not sure any man will want to push it any further. But sometimes you're home, not doing anything, and yet you don't want to grant access. I mean, that one, then you're creating a bulwark. So they have to find a way of also traversing that journey. But I'm sure that communication is at the heart of all these things. If we clearly communicate our intents, it helps.
Okay.
Let your spouse know that this is just a generous act. It's not anything that you have more expectations beyond this.
Yeah.
And if it is they want beyond that, look at the options. Are you able? And sometimes you don't do because you are not willing. You don't do because you are tired. But sometimes it's an act of generosity, born out of sacrifice.
Yeah, somebody says,
it's called labor of love.
Say it again, my brother.
It's called labor of love.
Our next pointer is fight fair. So according to marriage and family therapist Alicia Taverna, owner of, okay, no, we don't need all that.
Yeah.
The best New Year's resolution for couples is to fight fair. This means refraining from things like name-calling, criticism, attacking personality or character traits, and bringing up past issues into a current fight. Some of us can't just help it, but we have to make reference.
You see, the past always stares us in the face, especially when issues come up that drive into something that looks as a similar scenario. Anybody who has pulled a tooth before will tell you anytime your tongue rolls, it goes back into the cavity. it's difficult not to fall into the trap or the cavity of the past. So that's why a person needs to work constantly at it, giving themselves that space that says, I won't go and restate the past. It is past because it is past. And basically what you can do with the past is to let go. Holding on to the past does not even allow you to enjoy the present, let alone focus on posterity. And so we have a choice, either to dwell and live in the past or to embrace the present and enjoy it and look forward to posterity, which is the future. If we don't do that, we will hurt ourselves, thinking that we are hurting our spouse, but we are actually hurting ourselves because we're believing in yesteryears when we are moving on.
How about the person who does it without even realizing that this is what they're doing?
Well, my question would be, has the attention been drawn to it? Because if he's unaware, then he must be made aware. Who makes him aware better than the spouse, who is much aware? So there's a need for fairness. The fairness here, I would say, for instance, do to your spouse what you wish to be done to you. Put yourself in their shoe, which is empathy. I am angry at something. If my wife was angry or my husband was angry about the same thing, in my case, how would I expect them to respond? What are the words I would expect them to use? Would I still hold on for a month and not talk to them? How would I feel if my wife or husband decides not to talk to me, give you cold shoulder for 3 months, and you go into this functional communication? Have you, yeah, the money is here. I'll return at this time. That's functional.
These days you can use WhatsApp.
That's scary. You know, so there's a need for us to fight fairly, because see, this can go into the larger society. Because many of the things we do at home, they are dress rehearsals, and we take them into the office, we take them to other places. So you don't want to be treated in a certain way. Why treat somebody else that way?
Yeah.
Words you can't take, why do you give it to somebody? You know, there are people who are generously vulgar and abusive. And so they rain insults on others who are supposed to be their own spouses. I mean, you're not fighting fair. And fight fair also means that you are not always going to win. Sometimes you'll be on the losing side. But ideally, if we can all aspire to have a win-win situation, it's better than a lose-lose situation, because a lose-lose situation will further polarize the two of you. The other thing also I want to say is this, that there's a need for us to understand that conflict is part of the process of living together.
Somebody said it makes it nicer.
Yeah.
Because when you fight, then you make up.
There's a need. I mean, I see people who are in a pigeonhole with themselves and create this funny situation, and they start looking outside for attention, for love, for affirmation. Meanwhile, the person who is sitting next to you is something small which has happened, and you could resolve it. If it's beyond you, you find a third party to mediate. But sometimes intractable arrogance, posture that is so demeaning of the other party, and you create a certain dispensability of them. You see them as disposables. But you cannot dispose of your spouse, because they are there, they have your good intents at heart. Unless there's something else other than what I know.
I like very much what you just said. You cannot dispose of your spouse.
No, you should not think of them being disposable items. There's a need for each one of us to be extremely cautious and careful with the extent to which we handle our spouses, because your spouse, there is a label which is written and seen, though fragile, handle with care. And that is on the man, it's on the woman. And some women can be very harsh with the tone, the choice of words, and sometimes they take the battle beyond the home, to social media, to their friends, to their caucus, and all kinds of things. The moment you do that, anytime your spouse appears in the midst of those persons, they have depreciated in value. And that's a very dangerous thing to do to each other, because it's like cutting your own nose to spice your face, because at the end of the day, you are supposed to be one flesh.
Yeah. Wow. We've got 2 pointers.
Okay.
Touch each other every time you watch TV. I don't know why it's every time you watch TV. But you're a life coach.
I mean, if you're sitting close to each other, why not? It's non-sexual. To hold each other's arm, it's reassuring. You know.
By simply sitting next to your partner on the couch, you increase the probability of affection.
Yeah.
A commodity often seen far too little in long-term relationships.
And for the women, oxytocin is activated. It's a hormone of bonding.
Yeah.
And that is activated within such environs. And so it means that if you want your wife to bond with you, touch her more. Because touch has a way of making a woman just stream across and along with the emotional
That's
level.
true.
And that's deeper than just head cognitive appreciation of the marriage.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting in the car. I mean, if you're not going to be distracted with reckless driving or straying off your lane, I mean, a touch on the thigh, a squeeze on the thigh, and something.
I've heard Michaela screaming at the back there.
Michaela, I'm going to talk to your husband out there. I'm going to the radio. Somebody, you know, little things, and it's very funny, Mama V, that young men and women who are unmarried are the ones doing these things.
Yeah.
You typical morning when you're driving, you see a husband and wife in the vehicle, cold face, straight. Nobody's talking. One is very busy with the phone. The other is minding his business driving. But look at the young guys and young ladies who are either dating or courting or are just flirting. Oh, they are very active.
Yeah.
The smiles are buzzing and everything is juicy. They buy Coca-Cola and one straw. I mean, they have just one straw and one bottle, or sometimes
sharing.
2 straws. And sharing. Wives are drinking from glasses and husbands are cleansing them before they use them. And yet the next morning or at night they want to kiss them. I mean, how can you build on this? So for me, I think that touch is very important. There's a study that I read once. I've forgotten which group did it, but they did a study of basketball players. If you look at the extent to which they touch, you see the high level of bonding among basketball players. We should take a cue from that. Touch. Generous touch.
Yeah.
Not punch, but touch.
And maybe I can just talk a little for women.
Talk for women.
Sitting down and watching TV and you're not touching.
It's
you're
so
not
mundane.
making any move. And then the moment we go to the bedroom, you want to do
that.
something. Like how?
How? Am I an espresso machine? Some have an express machine.
I think maybe the men don't know this, but
The women
I wonder.
don't tell
I don't
them.
know. But sometimes it's like it's difficult. How do you say it?
No,
like
you can have a chat.
Touch me, touch me, touch me. You can't say that.
You remind me of a young lady who visited a guy. She's a person whose love language is touch, and she goes to visit this guy. Very often they're hoping to get married. The guy doesn't touch her and goes like, Jim, touch me one more time. I'm here. You know, there's a need for wives to sing this to their husbands. Mama, tonight sing it. Touch me one more time. I am here, oh dear. You know, there's a need for, you see, sometimes we are not talking about things we should talk about.
Yeah.
And we stray into these conversations with other parties.
Yeah, it's true.
People are very generous with conversations with third parties on things that are, innuendos, voyeurism, sometimes sexually explicit content. They're able to communicate that to other parties, but they are not able to do so with their spouses.
Yeah.
I think the husbands and wives to create the atmosphere which is congenial for such conversation to be brokered.
Yeah.
When a wife raises, what they will say, oh, please.
But the same
when
person
men
will say, would they say, will comfortably say it with other parties?
That's the sad thing.
Yeah.
We need to desist from that. Husbands and wives should be generous, be liberal, be flexible. Just show a high sense of tolerance and accommodation. As long as they are not demeaning and they're not getting to the gutters and bringing other things that are alien to your values. Let's do it as creatively as we're able to do. And it's all the better for us, not for anybody.
Sure. Before we move on to our last pointer, lines are activated. Obviously, you want to get into the conversations that we're having. And I love the fact that we're touching on different things. Speaking to us, speaking to me, 0302-211-69102, 0302-211-69102. Personal confession. Anytime we have these conversations, it adds a lot to my personal life and relationship, and I love it. It's very practical. So let's go to the final point. Stop lying about the little things. Like looking good in a sweater that's gotten too small. This one is a little abrofosem. When we lie about the little things, it gets easier and easier to lie about the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then one day you wake up and realize you've been lying about feelings or thoughts or concerns that should have been brought to light many months or years earlier.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, relational-wise, small things are the big things. And so if you start lying about little things, those little things will become bigger things. And when you lie, the strange thing about lies is that you may even forget the trend of the lies. And if you have a wife or a husband who is melancholy, they are the compliant type. So they keep track of things that ought to be kept. And they find you out, and that's the end of it.
We'll continue with this, but let's speak to Tim Rana in Tamale, who's joining us on the phone line. Hello, good morning.
Oh, sorry.
Hello? Okay, let's go to the Volta region and speak to Kofi. Kofi, good morning. I hope you're on. Okay, we seem to have lost you. Apologies there. Kindly call us back, 0302-211-69102, 0302-211-69102. So we're talking stop lying about the little things. Can you always tell the truth?
You should endeavor to speak the truth. And the word is endeavor to speak the truth.
Okay.
You see, truth hurts. I like an Indian proverb that says that truth is so heavy that very few people carry it. Now, we must endeavor to speak the truth. You see, sometimes your spouse knows the truth. They just want to check your honesty level. And the slightest hint of dishonesty, they now transpose it to other areas of life. What other things are you not lying about? Or are you lying about? So we've got to be careful. And you can't lie forever.
Yeah.
It is said you can deceive some people sometime, but
Yeah,
you cannot deceive all people all the time. So there's a need for us in our marriages. When an issue comes out, your wife sees you having written something. She comes and says, "Oh, were you the one who wrote this?" Own up. Take responsibility.
What if you feel it has consequences? Maybe you're trying to protect him or her.
Well, choices always have consequences. Choices have consequences. And asking for something, you never know what you're asking for. So if you ask for it and you are told, you must be also generous enough to stomach what has been told to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's speak to Gilbert from Enyinem. I hope I got that right. Gilbert, good morning.
Good morning, Mama V.
I hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm doing well, and thanks for the show too.
Okay. Thanks for watching and listening. Which one of the pointers are you connecting with right now?
Yeah, I'm connecting to the last one. I mean,
Okay.
speaking the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, is it good to tell your spouse, I mean, about your past relationship?
Is the person asking?
Yeah, he's asking.
Yeah, I'm asking the question that.
No. What I mean is your partner asking for details of your past relationships?
Okay, yeah, sometimes if he asks, or if she asks,
Okay.
and then if she doesn't ask, is
Okay.
it good to tell her about your past relationship, even by yourself or when she or he has ask?
All right. We'll answer that question in a bit. Thanks, Gilbert. Let's move on to Emmanuel, who is in Cape Coast. Emmanuel, good morning.
Good morning, Mama.
Yes, Emmanuel, I hope you're well.
Yes, I'm well.
Okay. Tell me which of the resolutions you're hoping, and no, there was a word that you use. Endeavor to use this year.
Less abusive language.
Okay.
Yeah.
So more like fight fair. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I also have a question for Mr. Kevin.
Sure. Let's hear you.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, he's listening. Please go ahead.
The audio that you played, one of the ladies said she was hoping to be married today and then this year and then be on her own. How is that even possible?
Oh, well, I'm sure that she's thinking of being independent of the parents.
Yeah.
I mean, usually some have been told you are getting old and the clock is ticking. So they think that marriage gives them a certain sense of independence and shows that they are responsible. And so you can't fault such a person who is in this particular situation.
Yeah. Let's go to Ibrahim from Bolga. Ibrahim, good morning.
Hello, good morning, madam.
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
We thank God. Let's hear you.
Yeah. I actually appreciate the program this morning. And I wish my wife was around here to listen to this program. In fact, sometimes he made mention of the arrogancy, and I think it is actually the problem sometimes that bring about issues in the marriage. Sometimes women not trying to be submissive, even if you make all the attempts to at least follow the rules, like what he is mentioning here. Sometimes the other one is not trying to play along and a whole lot of stuff. So, in fact, I think I would like to make arrangement to meet Mr. Counselor to actually.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'll mention a number out. Just keep watching and listening, and then we'll give you a number in a bit. Ibrahim from Bolga, thanks a lot. There was a question that was it Gilbert asked. I mean, how much of your past must you share?
You see, the issue of past is usually ideal prior to marriage.
Okay.
Because then the person takes a decision to commit, even notwithstanding whatever they know. Now, it's volatile if you go too much into details when the person is not prepared to handle the amount of information you are giving out.
Okay.
So it's always good to weigh the issues in a non-committed relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. Because some will come, they interrogate you like a BNI official. And for those people, it's self-serving endeavor they are embarking upon. So there's a need for you to checkmate them and not give too much. Because sometimes those information you have given then becomes a weapon that is used against you.
Yeah.
And becomes a constant refrain in their conversation with you. And that shows that they are not ready to handle that.
But I'm thinking that a guy may not always think there's something beyond what she's just asking me. And so if, for instance, you just put a question like, so how was it with your girlfriend, you know, where
and start going to all the fine details. You know, for instance, I mean, if you have a child, it's a past you cannot hide. If you have a marriage that is still subsisting, you have not divulged yourself out of it. There has not been any dissolution of it, and the person is still hanging in the dark. You've got to be able to disclose those. Some are going through turbulence in a relationship.
Yeah.
They go out of the relationship still committed to it, and they go into another one with another person without telling them that this is still having a life of its own. Then it begins to show up. Then the person goes, but I thought you had. Then that brings itself into a bigger issue that sometimes we are not ready to handle. So, and within a counseling setting, typical pre-marriage counseling, when the counselor knows both of you that well in terms of all the issues of your life, he or she is then able to prepare both of you to live with the situation that confronts you.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Emmanuel is in Ho. Nia, I'll come back to you in a bit, but let's first speak to Emmanuel, who's joining us from Ho. Emmanuel, good morning.
Good morning, Mama. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. I hope you are too.
I'm well.
We thank God. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I wonder if Ghanaians can really tell truth and maintain the lifestyle of telling truth. The reason is that Ghana, we build a society for ourselves that says that the one who speaks sweeter is the best person. See, that's where you even find in the Bible says, woman, if you do not understand anything in the church, go home and ask your husband. But today you only hear my pastor, not a husband, because the pastor always speaks sweeter. So in this society, I wonder if one can just tell truth throughout his life. It's possible. we need to change our minds and to see where we are falling, where we tell lies so much. Our cell phones are devices that we don't use to say anything that gives a value to our life. It's all about life. So the one who speaks sweeter is the best person, not the one who truths. Because when you tell the truth, you don't seem to be a sweet person.
Yeah.
So
interesting points that you're making. Interesting. Yeah. We're going to reflect on that. But let's talk to Niayi. Hello, Niayi. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Niayi. Tete.
Hear me.
Please, let's hear you.
My wife is such that she's the type. Always, I have to make the first move. When we are watching television, for instance, I will sit beside her, and we will be watching television together. The next time I have to come again. Over and over, and I'm tired. I'm fed up.
Please don't give up.
No, she doesn't make any move. Always, I have to come. Always, I have to come. I ask myself, what is wrong? I'm feeling bad. You see, I'm feeling bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can even collect everything and wash everything. She'll come back home and see that I have done the washing and everything. She will not even say thank you. That day she will not. I'm wondering.
No,
so in a case like this, what is it my fault or what is it?
No, Niayi, and I appreciate the fact that you're talking to us right now. It's not your fault. I think we have to.
I think we will have to talk.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation of the radar here.
Yeah.
But I think that women want to be chased, and don't get tired chasing your wife. It's very important.
Okay. So Niayi, we're going to give you Mr. Amos Kevin Anna's contact, because you guys have to speak. James is in Navrongo. James will be the last caller. James, good morning.
Good morning.
James, I hope you're well.
I'm well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear you.
I have a question. I have listened for some time, and I'm well connected with the point about touching and saying the things that maybe you wish if your spouse did not wake up today, what you would have told her yesterday or something. But I have a question. My wife I like the touching part, but my wife doesn't like it. When I even tell her you're pretty, you're beautiful, she doesn't believe me. Do I have to continue? And if she refuses to be touched, should I continue? What should I do?
James, before you go, do you have children?
Yes, I have one.
Okay. Is that child able to say to mommy that mommy is pretty, that kind of thing?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Is your child old enough to, give compliment to mommy?
No.
Okay, all right. Thanks for sharing, though.
Well, I think some time back we discussed the issue of love languages in passing, though. But it's important for James to recognize that perhaps the wife may not be the one who is moved by touch. She's moved by something else. It could be words of affirmation. It could be it could be time together. It could be gifts.
Okay.
It could be service. Now,
but isn't it significant, what he says, that
it is.
Even when I say that she's beautiful, she doesn't believe me?
I'm going to come to that one. There's a need for him to have a conversation with the wife to understand why she does not respond to touch. Some people may have some memories from the past that frustrates them, even now. They've been exploited through touch. And so they are unresponsive to touch, even in marriage.
Okay.
It's like a woman who has suffered a rape attack. Even the act of sex puts them off. And in marriage, they can have those kinds of issues. And they see it as a form of rape. So there's a need for the conversation to be had in a way that is non-threatening. And that's the underlined word, non-threatening. So that the wife can vent out anything that she has. I don't want to believe that it's a problem, but I think that it can be remedied. It's a situation that is not beyond. Let me say something about Emmanuel from Ho. And when he talked about Ghanaians can't speak the truth, I presume he's Ghanaian and he speaks truth. So if he speaks truth, why can't others be granted the latitude to also speak truth? But don't buy into the idea that the one who speaks sweetest is the one who speaks the truth. That's why I like a tagline from Joy. It says, discerning listeners. You see, when you listen to somebody, don't just listen to the words. Words can be just put together and communicated to you. But what is the heart, the spirit behind that? And you need something more than just your ears to listen.
Yeah.
You know?
Because of time, we have to wrap this up, but I promise that you're going to give a number. I have a special request. I want Niai to call us back.
Yeah.
Niai, please call us back and leave your number. I'm personally going to call you and then get you in touch. But what's the contact number?
This one will be 0266 803285.
0266
803285.
Okay.
But nobody should call now. I'm going to Adom, so
if you call Captain Smart, will pick the call.
All right, okay.
So, but Nia, kindly call us back on 0302-211-69102 and ask that you want to speak to Mama V, and then I'll talk to you. We'll try and get you together. Stay with us. Our talk segment is up next with Roland Walker. Chairman One is here. You tell us about the press conference yesterday. Is it NDC MPP again? Stay with us. You're watching the AM show. Mr. Kevin Annan, I am grateful for your time as always.
Please, generosity.
Stay with us.